Thank you very much. As TJ said, we're honored to be with you today from the International Space Station.
Yeah. First off, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, you guys. It seems like you've been a little bit busy. I know you spoke with the troops in Baghdad. We saw a picture of you with your Santa hats on. It's the holidays now. It sounds like you've been pretty busy.
Yeah, we stay busy up here, and even though our schedule's been a little bit lighter over the holiday period, you never really get a complete bit.
Yes, let me just start off here. The way this works is we put a notice up on our website, and that you were going to be on today. We're going to take this interview here that have come in from various locations across the country. So I'll proceed now to ask the first one. And this one came via Facebook from Iowa, and he says, my son Jacob, who is 8 years old, wants to know who inspired each of you to be an astronaut. Can you start with that, the Commander? Wait.
That's a great question. I was actually inspired by a variety of exposures, I guess, as a cadet at West Point. First, I read the book, The Right Stuff. I had a professor who was on the way to experimental test pilot school, and he was applying to be an astronaut. At the same time, that same year, I met Bob Stewart, retired Brigadier or Major General Bob Stewart, who was the first Army astronaut. That's when I realized that as an Army officer, there was a possibility of being an astronaut. And I set it as a goal at that time. That was in 1978, and pursued it from then on.
TJ, what about you?
This is TJ.
TJ, what about you?
My story is not a specific individual. I'm old enough to have seen Neil Armstrong walk on the moon. That was a bit of a spark. And then through schools, all levels of schooling, the teachers encouraged me in the math and sciences, which was yet another spark. And then when I got into the Army, I ended up flying, which was yet another spark, and everything kind of added up to being a marriage of all the interests. And that's how that all happened. When I became 7 years old in the Army said, what else do you want to do? And I said, research and development. So they sent me a magazine, and the inside back cover was an article entitled Typical Profile of an Army Astronaut. So all those sparks kind of roared to life in a flame.
Noguchi, what about you?
Yes, sir. Growing up in Japan, I didn't think about becoming an astronaut until growing up, and I just love rockets and the spacecraft. I studied those stuff and tried to be an engineer. And then the early 90s, Japanese astronauts started to fly in the space shuttle, like Dr. Mori or Dr. Mukai or Dr. Doi, and those guys, those pioneers, basically inspired me to follow their path.
Very good. Thank you. Now we're going to get to some sort of nitty-gritty kind of questions that people want to know. From Longview, Texas, someone wants to know here, how do you take showers in space, or do you?
Well, we do not take showers in space. Sometimes we say we're going to go take a shower, but really it's a sponge bath. We use just a little bit of water, washcloths. We have a rinseless shampoo and rinseless body wash, is what we call it. So it doesn't take a lot of water, but it's very easy using those means to stay clean up here for a long period of time. But I have to tell you, one of the things I miss after 6 months being up here is just a regular conventional shower.
Yes, and then when do you come back, Commander?
Max Sarayev, my Russian crewmate, and I are scheduled to depart here in the middle of March, and we'll land in Kazakhstan on the Soyuz spacecraft that we arrived on, launched from back in the end of September.
And do you all, I mean, this is the International Space Station, so there are people from, Russia and other countries there. How do you all mix and get along? I mean, are duties divided up? Do you socialize much, or is it? Can you tell me how a typical day might be?
My best answer is the folks that are on board, we count literally as among our best friends. My Russian crewmate Oleg Kotov, along with Soichi, we came up and we arrived just before Christmas. I think it's very fair to say that the sense of humor in both languages is wonderful, outstanding, to the point where you belly laugh occasionally and get tears in your eyes. Socialization, we have lunches together in the Russian segment, and in the evenings we have dinners over in the American segment. So we make sure that we interact with each other and help each other out in both sides of the station that we can often. A great camaraderie that exists.
Soichi, can you answer this question? How much space, literally, is there up there for you to work in? I mean, it looks like the three of you are floating right now, and you're in a relatively confined space. I mean, are other parts of the space station that you work in larger?
Yes, actually, we are pretty comfortable. I don't think we're confined, but during the walk time, I have a big module called the Japanese Space Station. It's the size of a school bus, and lots of experiment running, and just keep track of all the stuff. And Jeff is mainly keep track of U.S. module, and TJ also have responsibility on the Columbus module, which is a European big science module. So we have a pretty big area to cover.
And how are you all adjusting to the zero gravity? I mean, it looks like right now you're floating, correct?
Oh yeah, we're floating, and the adjustment. Well, there's a learning curve, especially for new guys who go around crashing into things or going too fast or something. But the metabolics of our adjustment are fairly well known. I mean, we have fluid shifts that make us sometimes have moon faces. We have bone loss and some muscle atrophy if we're not using them all the time. But in terms of a day-to-day living, it's wonderful to float. It's a bit of a game to translate and hit your mark and hit the vector from that mark to the right place without crashing into people or other things. The adjustment is as predicted, probably. Newbies have a little bit of difficult time, and we grow into it, and we're working every day in order to establish countermeasures so we don't lose the bone structure and the muscle strength that we need upon landing.
The president is going to launch his vision for NASA within weeks, we hear reports say, and to try to see what's next on the docket for the space station there. How do you see the future of the space station? We understand there are 5 more missions left. What happens after that?
Well, what you're talking about is 5 more assembly missions by the space shuttle to come visit the space station and complete its assembly, and also outfit it for its full utilization, supply it with spare parts, etc. And those are scheduled to be completed this coming year, 2010, and after which the shuttle will be retired, so we can free up those resources for the next chapter of space exploration. But the space station will continue. We're just starting now the utilization program of the space station. Next year we'll get into full utilization. This past year we got to a crew of 6, which was the intended final crew complement. Right, currently we're at a crew of 5, but we'll return to 6 in April. And I expect the space station to continue to fly and be this research facility that it is for anywhere from 5 to 10 years is my personal guess. We're already committed for the next 5 years to 2015, and I think it's very likely that it will continue to go after that as an international partnership. In parallel, of course, we'll be developing the new chapter, if you will, that will follow alongside and beyond the space station, and that direction will come out shortly, as you said, from the president.
Astronauts Williams, Creamer, and Noguchi, thank you very much for taking time with us down here on Earth. We wish you all the best up there. Happy New Year. Continued success on the mission.
Thank you very much for joining us, and Happy New Year to everybody on Earth.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Wisconsin Public Radio and Washington Post Online. We are now resuming operational audio communication.